that's also attracting institutional people who are understanding that this is a once in a generation type of technology. I think you're getting some TradFi people moving in, but it's still slow. Based on our accounting, only 4% of the world right now have digital wallets. And that's sort of equivalent to 1998 in terms of the adoption of the internet. That's when 4% of the world had access to the internet. So it's still very, very early. I know it feels late because every year in crypto is like 5 years in TradFi world, and I don't know how we're surviving it. I mean, you and I, older guys,
we're actually enjoying it.
Yeah, it is fun, and we know how to manage it, but it really is fast-paced, fast-growing. I do think the traditional world is slowly getting that, there's real, this is real, that there's real math behind it. The Satoshi white paper is not some fictional nonsense. It really is an important invention. And, the initial concept that supports and backs Bitcoin and the Bitcoin network is, like a find. It's a great invention. Yeah.
Conversations with investors. Now you're onto your fourth fund now.
Yeah.
Your conversation with investors, when you started, a lot of what you saw was family offices, right? They got it. They were bigger risk takers. They understood the opportunity. Are you seeing that broaden out? How are you seeing the evolution of the investor base?
So this is interesting because I just got back from a month-long trip. I've never done a month-long trip. I was in Dubai and Abu Dhabi and then Riyadh and then Melbourne and Sydney, and then I dropped by in Auckland and then up to Paris. So I really got a sense. I want to say something about that. But in the beginning, yes, it was more family and really just friends of mine and my people in my world network. And but now we did at the tail end of the third fund, a little bit in the second, we did start to see more institutions. The Texas Teachers is an investor. We also have the Michigan Employees Pension Fund, MERS, they're an investor. We have an endowment. We have some foundations. So, but right now it's really picking up. And you'd be surprised. It's for people who have no exposure, but who sort of, especially in the last 6 weeks, they're sort of seeing, oh, well, Bitcoin's up 70% on the year. Is that what it is? Or 30% during this banking crisis. And you know what? That kind of makes sense. And they didn't need a bailout in that world. And there are some bad actors, but there's a lot of value there and a lot of different things going on. There's DeFi stuff going in the DeFi world. There's stablecoin business. There's NFTs, a lot of different things. They're now ordinals on Bitcoin even, so there's the space itself is not just relying upon the price of Bitcoin and Ethereum. That's the big difference to me from 18 and 19 was that, there's so many things going on underneath the hood. The number of developers that have entered the blockchain space is now at an all-time high. So through 22, it kept increasing. Of course, you have things like the Bitcoin hash rate. It just hit an all-time high. The number of players in the NFT space, from 18 months ago is up exponentially. So there's the number of layer ones that have had the sort of the top 5 or 6, the usage is at an all-time high. So, it's no longer just about the price of, those 2 leading ones and, some of the other cryptocurrencies. So I think that's also attracting institutional people who are understanding that this is a once in a generation type of technology.
Yeah, I think if we go back to whenever it was, 2018 or 19, when we had our first conversation on Real Vision about this, the big difference between then and now was the applications layers being built.
Big time, yep.
And they get that, they see that, and this is closer to, the last people in will be when it becomes ubiquitous and everybody has it on their iPhone. but it's this application layer, the consumerization and the integration of blockchain technology that's big.
Yeah, and it's not through what we expected. I mean, you see all these name brands coming into, incorporate blockchain into their business models. And of course, I know you saw this a few weeks ago, the California DMV is putting licenses and title deeds on the Tezos blockchain. Now, I don't know why they've specifically chosen Tezos, but the point is you have a non-economic, non-capitalist entity basically at the cutting edge. I mean, this is, I think, a fantastic use case. And so
the Argentinian airline with ticketing.
Right.
Something I've been talking about, and suddenly there it is.
Exactly. So I think you're getting, adoption through ways that we hadn't anticipated, because once you have a digital wallet, it's just a short, quick step to understanding that Bitcoin is collateral, Ethereum is programmable money, that there are different things that you can hold in this digital wallet, right? It doesn't just have to be, your license, right? Your license that sits on a blockchain. So I would also say one more thing, because I want to just mention my trip, because you asked me about, has the interest been broadening? I mean, the Middle East is really on fire.
I'm hearing the same from everybody. Tell me about it.
Well, they get it, and they're embracing it. They see that it's the future. Abu Dhabi specifically, Dubai too, encouraging businesses to set up there. There is in Dubai and also in Abu Dhabi, there is a regulatory framework. I think people, of course, are looking to the SEC, regulators around the world, but the SEC is going backwards and the US is moving backwards. And again, I've said this before, this is the first time in 50 years that the US has not been leading technological and financial innovation. We invented the mortgage-backed security market in the 80s. There are things that we always were leading, and now we're at the end. I mean, we're in the caboose. Look, I also think other places, and you see this in Australia, they really understand currency. You could stop anybody on the street and ask them where the Aussie dollar is, and they'll tell you. Americans don't think about currency, and they think about the NASDAQ, but they don't think about the dollar. They don't really know where it is. So the concept of cryptocurrency there's a hurdle there. And, adoption is just slowed if there are hurdles, any hurdle. And so crypto and currency, it's just too strange for them, right? But the Australians, they're entrepreneurs. They live on a big island. They look out. They always look for investment opportunities. Very wealthy population, generally speaking. And they really get it. And I was there, and I had a lunch at one of the larger banks, and they've already tokenized an asset and put it on a blockchain. They're, pretty advanced in that sense. I don't know that there's any trading volume on it yet, but they have people well-versed. That's not to say, look, JP Morgan has the largest number of blockchain patents in the world. So even though Jamie Dimon is saying whatever he's saying, under the hood, they're doing stuff. But I feel like in Australia, the things are coming together, the tech innovation, the currency part, the money part, and it's the same thing in the Middle East.
Yeah, I get the same, because I've heard a lot from, everybody, all of my friends are all in the Middle East all the time on this endless road trip, because there's capital, and they understand that the fossil fuel economy over time is going to shrink versus the renewables economy. So they're like, well, we need to have a stake in the future. And they've been very strongly behind this.
Hey visionaries, thank you for tuning in. For more free crypto content like this, head over to realvision.com/crypto. You'll get early access to the most brilliant minds in the space to cut through the noise, get in-depth analysis, and get you ahead of the curve with unbiased insights.